Welcome back to For the Home Cook. So the whole point of this series is that hopefully we can save just a little bit of money on our groceries. Of course, we have talked about creating a food budget. We have talked about meal prep. We've talked about buying in bulk. We've also talked about couponing, so many other things. So this week, I just want to bring you some meals that are going to cost us under $10. And the point is that things are getting more and more expensive. Everything around that seems to be rising, like gas prices and all sorts of other stuff. And it's the summertime, which means kids are out of school, and that means we need more food to feed them. So I have a few recipes. All of these cost me under $10, but the great thing about it is that you can customize these to feed more people or less, and also add some things to this that aren't going to cost a lot of money. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is this big pot I have right here. So I've got some oil in here. We're going to make jambalaya. Now, I don't know about you if you have a jambalaya recipe, because it doesn't cost that much. There aren't a lot of complicated ingredients. You could make your own recipe, but this one, we're going to take what's already in the box, super simple, and just add on to that. So the great thing I love about this is that it can feed a lot of people. You can meal prep this, and I've done that before, where you do maybe 2 days in advance, and then after 2 days you make some more. So it's something that you can get some cheap ingredients, and you can make a lot of food in one dill. So I've got some diced up onion, and you don't have to do this, but obviously Cajun food, you're gonna go with the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, which is gonna be bell pepper, onion, and then celery. I don't have celery for this, but you could obviously go ahead and add that. So the other thing that we're gonna add is just some sliced sausage. I just got whatever the cheapest was in the store. You can obviously get something like an andouille sausage or something like that, but I didn't. I just got whatever was cheapest. Cut it up into these little like half rounds. You can cut them up smaller if you want more, but half round seems to be pretty edible sizes. So we're gonna toss this in here. Now the thing with the vegetables is I have it on a pretty high heat because I want to get a lot of char, and I want to cook these up pretty fast. If you want to low and slow this to where you really sweat out those onions, you get them caramelized, you get your bell pepper that's really softened and kind of charred, and you char the sausages, absolutely, you can do that. I'm going to do it kind of fast because this is only going to take us, in theory, about 30 minutes total to make this entire meal. And you're going to cut off some of that time if you'll pre-chop this, put it into a bag, put about 2 days worth, and then you can just take the bag out, dump it in there, and then you saved yourself about 5 minutes. I mean, it's not a lot of time that you're going to save, but it works. So you just want to kind of sweat these down, get everything kind of crispy. I like to leave it in there for a little bit. I like to char the sausage. I like to get some really good caramelization on those onions. So I'm going to let this go for a little bit. But you can see what I've got here. This is Zatarain's. They make a jambalaya. I'm sure that they have some other ones. This is what I grew up with. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. You basically just take a pound of whatever, smoked sausage, cooked chicken, ham, shrimp, whatever you have, whatever you can afford. You're going to want to saute that up. Add in the package, add in water, put a lid on it, and then you wait 25 minutes. Now they also have some different varieties with Zatarain's. They've got a dirty rice mix. They also have a gumbo mix, and they've got a red beans and rice. All can follow the same thing that we're doing here. I like jambalaya, but if your family likes one of the other ones, then just pick that up. Just follow the directions on the back, and you're gonna get the same result. So while that's going, I'm gonna go to the other recipe that I have. Now this one I have made before. I like it. Obviously, if you have an enchilada recipe, it's not gonna take you a whole lot of time. If you have the ground beef and you have corn tortillas, you could wrap up some, beef enchiladas or cheese or chicken or whatever enchiladas, sour cream chicken enchiladas, you could whip those up. But the name of the game is, one, we're gonna go the cheapest route possible, and we're trying to maximize on not taking a whole lot of time to make these meals. So I call these lazy enchiladas, and it's real simple. You just need these 3 ingredients. You can add on if you want to, but this is kind of the basics. So I've got some enchilada sauce, and I'm gonna take, mind you, you're gonna take a 9x13 pan for this entire box. I've already made some, they're in the oven. So I'm gonna half this recipe, and I will tell you the beef taquitos are cheaper than the chicken, and you get more of the beef taquitos. But if you want chicken, if your family likes chicken, then just get those. You may not have as many, but that's okay. So we're gonna put about a 1/4 cup into our pan. And then we're gonna take our taquitos. Obviously, these are not gonna be as big as an enchilada. I get that, but most of the work is already done for you, and I like that kind of plan. So obviously, you're gonna have a 9x13. These are gonna fit better, but for now, we're gonna pretend like all of these fit in there properly. And one more. All right. So you would put all of these in your pan, and then we're gonna top this with some more of our enchilada sauce. Now, if you have an enchilada sauce that you love, go ahead and pick that. I just got whatever the biggest can was at the cheapest price. I don't know about you, in our household, we were very specific about our enchilada sauce. And if you have a homemade recipe, feel free to do that. We're just trying to do the least amount in the least amount of time. So this is gonna go in the oven for about 15 minutes. And I actually have one that the timer just went off, so this is about 350. This is what it's gonna look like after about 15 minutes. Now, if you look at this and you're like, I want more sauce on the top, I get that, you can do that. But we're gonna do my favorite thing, which, when in doubt, cover everything in cheese. So you could put some more sauce on top if you want to. I am gonna layer on some cheese. We're gonna put this back into the oven for about 5 or 6 minutes and let all of the cheese melt. I almost picked that up with my whole hand without a heating pad. That would have stopped this segment real quick. All right, so we'll put that back in there. We're gonna wait about 5 minutes, let the cheese melt. It may take a little more or a little less time. And then we're gonna check on this. So, this is to your heart's desire. So what I have here, you can see that like my onions are softened, my bell peppers are softened. The sausage is not crispy at any point. That's fine. You can really, once again, if you want to make all this crispy, go right ahead. For the sake of what we're doing here though, I'm just gonna go ahead and let's move on. So, have our box. And this has all the seasoning that you will need in it. If for some reason though, if you want this to be a little bit better, you can add some salt, you can add pepper, garlic, onion. I didn't put garlic in here. You could also put garlic into this pan. And then you can also put in some Cajun seasoning if you want to. Whatever you have, like I said, it's gonna be seasoned already, but if you wanna just add a little bit more, you can. I would not add any seasoning until you get the water and all the seasoning packet that's in here dissolved, because I would hate for you to add more salt and then all of a sudden it already had enough salt in the package. So 2.5 cups of water. Now we're gonna throw this on high and then we're just gonna start to stir. So like I said, once you get everything mixed and it has the seasoning in there, so once you get that dissolved into the water, at that point I would just take a little spoon, taste the sauce, see how it is, add some seasoning if you want to. Like I said, you can add Cajun seasoning, you can add, I would definitely add some garlic, even though I know there's some already in there, but my philosophy is you can't have too much garlic. So, and I will stand by that. So we're gonna let this come up to a boil. That is definitely the wrong lid. All right, I'm gonna find the lid to this. We're gonna put the lid on it, bring this up to a boil, and then put the lid on it, simmer for about 25 minutes, and then that is good to go. Now, what to serve with that? You can keep it real simple. I would get a loaf of French or Italian bread and then make a butter, garlic, melt some butter, put some garlic in it, put some Cajun seasoning in it, and then put that on the bread. Put it in your air fryer, 400 degrees for about 5 minutes, or you can put it in the oven as well. And just make some like toasty bread. Don't make it too complicated. I'm gonna check these. All right, we're almost completely melted in the cheese department. So while that finishes, I'm gonna show you this last recipe. So far, we have our lazy enchiladas that you can serve with a side of rice or whatever that you want. Once again, rice is super cheap. It's gonna be one of the cheapest staples that they have in stores. So you can either buy, like this is cilantro lime rice. It may not be cost effective if you're buying it in those little containers, So if you have a favorite rice recipe, go ahead and do that. If you just want to do like white rice and call it good, that is perfectly fine too. All right, this last one, it doesn't have a name and it's really, really simple. It's literally what you see here. What I like about this recipe is, one, you can meal prep it. Very, very cost effective to meal prep this for several days in advance. Two, you're already using ingredients that you bought for your jambalaya. So we're using onion. Onion is super cheap. We already bought it for this. Also use it in here. Bell pepper. We bought it for this recipe. Go ahead and use it in here. The only difference is the sausage. So this one, I went to find what's the most that I could get for the least amount. So I got these jalapeno cheddar, just smoked summer sausage, and it came in a pack of like 6 links. Cut them all up, and there you go. So the last thing that we're gonna add is potato. So with potato, you either wanna have the time to cut this up, put it in the oven, and roast it for about 15 minutes before you put the rest of your vegetables in, or partially cook them. So I threw these in the microwave for about 4 minutes, and then they're partially cooked. So it's gonna take a little bit less time for these to actually get done at the same time that everything else is also roasting. So you want all of your stuff to be around the same size. It does not have to be perfect, but if everything is a different size, then it's going to roast at different times. And so you may be waiting on your potatoes to get done, but the bell pepper is now burning because, well, it's a smaller size and a different roasting time. So we're going to chop these up. Once again, I only got 2 potatoes because we're going to serve this over just some plain rice, but you can add on to whatever that you want. So if you know that you really, really love onion, I love onion, Micah in production loves onion, this is not too much for me. But if you don't like onion and you want to add extra potato, go ahead and do that. The great thing is all of these ingredients are super, super cheap. So you can add on some potatoes. Get russet potatoes. They're the cheapest of all of the potatoes, and they'll roast just fine. The last thing that I'm going to add to this, by the way, this I have turned on to low or simmer, so that is good to go. I'm going to go ahead and take these out. And then the last thing that we will add to the roasted vegetables and sausage is going to be broccoli. Now you could get frozen broccoli. That's fine. If you have some in the freezer because you bought it and then you forgot to eat all of it, that's fine. Make sure that you thaw it. Make sure that all of the water's out of it so that it will actually roast in the oven and not just get soggy and weird. But what I've done here is just get kind of a medium-sized crown of broccoli. Broccoli is relatively cheap, as long as you're not trying to feed 13 people in a family. It's going to be decently affordable. I think they're like $1.57 a pound right now at the store, so decently affordable. But the great thing is when you go to the store, remember what vegetables are in season because those are going to be cheaper. So if you look at things like right now in the summertime, we have like squash and zucchini. I really love squash and zucchini. So if those are on sale or if those are a good price, you can get some of those, and that's going to last you a long time in terms of meals, how to really build out your meals with a lot of vegetables. If you live in a household that maybe doesn't like vegetables all that much, then maybe you double up on the sausage and not so much on the vegetables. That's perfectly fine. So I'm going to chop up some of this broccoli, and then we'll put this in the oven about 425. And if you don't partially cook your potatoes, you'll want to put your potatoes in first. Drizzle some olive oil on top, put whatever seasonings that you want on top. Go ahead and put your potatoes in for about 15 minutes. Bring it out, put the rest of your vegetables on there, and then put it all back in for about 30 minutes. So that's the only thing that's not great in terms of time for this recipe because you are going to have to roast the vegetables for at least 45-ish minutes. What I would do if I'm going to meal prep this is go ahead and roast everything on, like I do my meal prep on Sunday. Go ahead and roast everything on Sunday. And then when you portion this out, put maybe some parchment or a piece of foil or something underneath in your bowl. And then you can pull that out, put it back into the air fryer for maybe 10 minutes on a high temperature. Everything's already going to be roasted. It's already going to have that flavor. It's already going to be cooked. But putting it back in the air fryer or back into your oven for about, I would say 10 minutes on a high temperature is just going to kind of re-roast everything so that you get that crispy texture to all of your vegetables. I don't know about you, when I do broccoli, I like it really, really crispy. Some would say burnt, but I'm going to pretend like that's not the adjective that we want to use. I also love this because it's all in one pan. So I'm not going to dirty up a whole lot of dishes, hopefully, by doing this. And I have 2 pans out because we're going to double up. Hopefully I don't have to use a whole lot of dishes for this one. I don't know about you. If I have to use every dish in my kitchen, I start to get really irritated with meal prep and it does not seem worth it. So these will go in the oven for, we'll say, check it in about 25 minutes. I'm actually going to raise this. Yeah, so we'll go 425 on that. Let's go ahead and throw these in here. And then, like I said, you can serve that over some rice to really round out the meal and add a lot to it, because vegetables and sausage may not be enough to feed, you know, really hungry kids or a really hungry adult. But if you're adding something to it, like putting it on rice, that's going to stretch your budget further. It's going to stretch your meals further without having to add on a lot of extra cost, especially if you just do plain white rice, 98 cents a bag, makes a bunch of servings. All right, let's look at this. So depending on how many lazy enchiladas that you want to serve, this obviously will make 20, and then you can decide how much everybody needs. Like I said, these are smaller than regular enchiladas, so normally you would say like 2 enchiladas is a serving. Maybe for this, everyone gets 3 or everyone gets 4. So even if you get 4, that's still 5 servings. And all of these meals, like I said, in what I have here, cost less than $10. Once again, if you add some extra stuff to it, that is going to add to that budget. But just in its simplicity, anytime that you can spend $10 to get 5 servings plus is a win for me. The jambalaya makes 5 servings per box. So depending on how much it's about a cup, I would say, maybe a cup and a quarter per serving. So depending on how much that you need for your family or for yourself, if you have 2 people, 5 servings, you do, a little bit more than a serving. This could meal prep you for 2 days, and then just make another box in 2 more days. And so you're only going to spend maybe $20 a week, just on that meal prep alone. So cost effective in what we're making. And this, we zhuzhed it up. So even if you kept it at its basic, the box of jambalaya is like $1.78. And then you could get some bread, and that's $2.78, and then you're good to go. So this is what it looks like when it's done. Like I said, this is a lot of servings. I absolutely love jambalaya. I love this dish. I meal prep it quite often because it's very cost effective and it's going to feed you. It's got that great protein you get from the sausage. It's got rice. It's got all the flavors, all the seasoning, even without the onions and bell pepper. Still a really, really great dish. So I'm going to have all of these up on the website below here so that you can read through all these recipes. Remember, you can add and take away. It just messes with, that under $10 budget. But remember, vegetables are going to be your best friend, especially in season. Rice is going to be your best friend. And then anything that you can find in store that's nearly complete, like jambalaya, where you just add something to it, then you're going to be able to really stretch your budget in all of these meals, and they're going to be cheap, affordable, and also delicious. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll see you next time.